Good morning everyone. Welcome to part 1 of lecture 2 under module 7. So in this module we'll discuss about the bioconversion into biogas mechanism, or you can say the stages in the anaerobic digestion and the properties of the biogas. So let us start with the discussion about the what is meant by the biogas. So biogas is predominantly a mixture of methane and carbon dioxide and some stresses of other gases such as H2, H2S and the nitrogen. So the biogas is produced mainly by decomposition of the organic matter in a digester. So this particular digestion process is carried out by the action of the microorganism in absence of oxygen. So the biogas produced during this particular stage may act as a source of renewable energy as well. So if you see here in this slide, we have shown here a small biogas digester. So in this case the organic matter is fed into the digester. So it is allowed to carry out the digestion inside this particular digester, and once the digestion process is carried out, it evolves the gas in the form of biogas, which is a mixture of methane and the CO2. So at the end of this particular digestion process, the digested slurry which comes out from the digester is also one valuable product, which is called as a valuable soil product also. So this methane, or you can say the swamp gas, this particular production is also happen naturally in the swampy ponds. Why? Because if you see here the picture which represents the swampy ponds, so in this particular swampy ponds the material which is maintained under the anaerobic condition, because as there is no access to the air under this particular condition, so it is exposed to the anaerobic condition. So as a result, the organic matter which is present in these swampy ponds undergoes decomposition reaction, and once it is get decomposed, it releases the methane gas which is getting evolved in this particular process. So likewise this kind of process happens naturally in the ecosystem as well. So how it is made? So the biogas, it is produced by decomposing any type of organic matter by the action of microorganism in absence of oxygen. So the organic matter may be it in the form of sewerage. So if you see here, it may be a domestic, municipal, school or hotels. The sewerage of these particular sources which contains some organic materials can be digested to produce the biogas. Later if you see here, there is a food waste. So the food waste is one of the most commonly used organic matter for the biodigestion purpose. So the food waste from the domestic, industrial, commercial, which is inclusive of the fats and oils, can also undergo decomposition reactions to produce the biogas. Likewise, if you see here the cattle manure. So cattle manure may be in the form of like manures of the sheep, you can say the pig, chicken manure. This particular resource also can be utilized for the biogas production, and this is one of the most commonly used, you can say, the organic matter for the decomposition purpose to produce the biogas. Apart from that, the agriculture residues in the form of say vegetables, the waste fruits, or you can say the sugarcane residues or the residual agriculture material which is left over, you can say crop straw and crops from the farms. So these are nothing but the residual materials which can also be utilized for the production of the biogas. So now the more attention is nowadays is given for the utilization of these particular resources for the biogas production. And at the last, if you see the commercial outlets, that means the breweries, the processing plants, fruits and vegetable packaging plants, the waste generated from this particular commercial outlets can also be utilized for the biogas productions. There are number of organic waste which can be utilized efficiently for the biogas production. So these waste can be co-digested or individually can also be digested in the digester to produce the biogas. So the waste, once it is collected, either it is in the form of say for example livestock, can be processed in a digester to produce the biogas. If you see here the picture which is running on the slide, which shows the individual waste which can be fed into the digester. So the digested slurry can evolve the gas, and once the digestion process is completed, the digested slurry can be recovered from the digester from this particular section. So, this entire process is carried out either using the individual waste or can also be co-digested, so that there can be a dynamic equilibrium between the acid former as well as the methane former bacteria, and which is very much essential in the anaerobic digestion process, so that the efficiency of the anaerobic digestion can be maintained and the generation of the gas can be carried out in a very efficient manner. So, likewise this particular process can be carried out by feeding this kind of waste, as I mentioned earlier, individually, or also can be co-digested in the specific combination in the digester to have dynamic equilibrium between the acid formers bacteria as well as the methanogens bacteria in the digester. So, now as I shown here, the waste which is collected can be processed by using some pre-processing stage, either it can be a size reduction or just by removing the some external material which is present in the organic waste, and this particular waste can be fed inside the digester, and if you see here, the gas which is evolved can be collected in a common gas holder, so that it can be used as and when required basis. Similarly, the digested slurry can be collected from the bottom of the digester once the cycle of the digestion is completed. Cycle of the digestion means if it is a batch type operation, then it requires at least 50 to 60 days to complete the single batch of the organic waste. So, after 60 days, the particular digested slurry can be collected from the batch type plant. So, that is what is the meaning of the collection of the digested slurry from the digester. If you are operating as a continuous mode, then with specific input on the per day basis, that much amount of waste can be rejected from the digester on daily basis, and it can be automatically collected from the digester as well. So, there is difference between the batch type as well as the continuous plant type digester. So, that we will be discussing in our subsequent slides. So, before we go in more detail about the discussion on the biogas production or the biogas generation, let us discuss about the brief history of the biogas generation. So, if you see here, Van Helmont, he first determined in 17th century that flammable gases could evolve from the decaying material under the anaerobic condition. So, later in 1776, the concept of anaerobic digestion was discovered by Alexander Holt. He noticed the natural anaerobic digestion is taking place in some soils, lake and oceanic sediment, which leads to the source of marsh green methane. So, why it is happening? Because these kind of places are exposed to the anaerobic condition. So, once the anaerobic condition prevails in these particular places, so the organic matter which is present in these particular places undergo decomposition reaction, and as a result it will evolve the methane as a gas along with the some fraction of the CO2, because this particular microorganism, they will utilize the oxygen which is present in the organic matter itself. So, as a result there will be some fraction of CO2 may also evolve during this particular process under this condition. Similarly, in 1808, Sir Davy, he proved the presence of methane in the gas produced during the anaerobic digestion of the cattle manure. So, that is the time when the utilization of the cattle manure is carried out for the anaerobic digestion process as well. So, after that in 1859, if you see, the first anaerobic digester was developed in India in Mumbai. So, this is the first anaerobic digester which was developed in India in Mumbai, and it was like in 1859. Later in 1895, the technology concept of a biogas septic tank was developed in Exeter in England. So, in this case a septic tank was used to produce a biogas, and this particular produced gas was used as a sewer gas dictator lamp, or you can say a type of a street gas lighting. Later in 1930, with more intervention in this biogas technology, Buswell and others, they identify anaerobic bacteria and the conditions that promote methane production. Later, during World War II also, the shortage of petroleum product popularized this particular technology, and it was used in more advanced way for the biogas production, and the produced gas was utilized as a source for the energy. And then in 1970s, energy crisis further sparked the interest in the anaerobic digesters. So, likewise, if you see here how this biogas generation technology was evolved in the science and technology can be visualized from this particular slide. So, the biogas, as I mentioned, it produced from the decomposition of the organic matter by concerted action of wide variety of the microbial communities in absence of oxygen, and this particular process is called as a anaerobic digestion process. So, if you see in this case, the biogas system, it use anaerobic digestions to recycle these organic materials and turning them into a valuable material in the form of biogas, which can also be act as a source of energy, and it also produce a valuable soil product which also act as a fertilizer. So, by using this particular waste, we can produce two different kinds of product, one in the form of fuel, or you can say the energy, and other in the form of fertilizer. So, gaseous form are the waste products of the respiration of these decomposer organisms. So, the composition of this entire biogas is solely depends on the type of waste or the organic matter or the substance which is getting decomposed in the digester, and the container in which this digestion process is carried out is termed as a digester. So, this is very simple concept. Now, if you see, if the material consists of mainly carbohydrate such as for example glucose or simple sugars, or high molecular weight compound in the form of cellulose and the hemicelluloses, then the methane production is low in such cases. However, if the fat content is high in the raw material, the methane production is likewise high. So, as I mentioned earlier, the composition as well as the production of methane in this particular process is mainly depends on the type of waste as well as the substance which are present in the specific organic matter. For example, if you see here, if the organic waste mainly contains the starch and the sugar, so this kind of materials can be easily digested by the bacteria without or with air. What is meant by the without and with air is, if the decomposition is carried out with air, so as a result this kind of decomposition reaction mainly produces CO2 and the ammonia as a gas, and hence it is not converting into any valuable product. Similarly, if the same decomposition reaction, if it is carried out without air, that means in absence of air, then it leads to the production of energy in the form of biogas, and its composition is mainly methane and the CO2 as well as some traces of other gases, and also along with that it gives digested slurry as a product. So, this is the difference between the decomposition of this organic matter in presence of air and in absence of air. Similarly, the vegetables and the leafy waste can also undergo decomposition reaction in the similar manner again in presence of air or in absence of air, but in this case if the decomposition is carried out in absence of air, so relative time requirement for the decomposition of such material is more compared to the previous case. So, this is what is the difference, because as I mentioned, it all depends on the substance which are present in the organic matter, because starch and the simple sugars are very easy to digest or degrade for the bacteria which are present in the anaerobic digester. Whereas, if you talk about the vegetables and the leafy waste, so to act on these particular materials, the bacteria need to spend some more time, so that the digestion process can take place, and then it will evolve the gas, but then this is a time consuming process if the material contains the vegetable and the leafy waste. Whereas, if the material is a woody waste, then it is very difficult to digest this kind of material by the bacteria, because the lignin content in this kind of materials mainly required for the digestion purpose. So, just to have the comparative analysis of the material, or you can say the substance present in the organic matter, and how these particular substances can convert into a biogas, and what is that particular ratio of biogas can be produced from this kind of substances is summarized in this particular table here. So, if you see in this particular table, you can see that if the substance contain mainly a fat, then in that case it produces around this much liter of biogas per kg of dry substance, and the methane content in the biogas produced is around 67% and the carbon dioxide content is around 33%. Similarly, if the substance is a protein, then in that case, although the gas produced from this kind of substances is relatively less compared to the fat, but then if you see the methane in its composition is relatively higher, and also the carbon dioxide concentration is relatively low if the substance is a protein. Similarly, if it is a carbohydrate, then even in this case the gas production is intermittent between the fat and the protein, but the methane content is relatively low, is only 50%, but the carbon dioxide production is little high. So, this is how the decomposition reaction it varies, and it mainly depends on the substance which is available for the decomposition reaction. As a result, this kind of processes can be carried out using a co-digestion operation as well, so that we can maintain a specific ratio of this particular material in a digester, and this also helps to maintain a proper proportions of the acid forming bacteria and the methane forming bacteria in the digester in a dynamic equilibrium condition. And this particular condition, it also helps to run the digester in an efficient manner, and it also provides effective biogeneration of the gas during this particular process. As I mentioned, the methane is the most important component of the biogas, because methane is the only gas which has the highest energy density among the other gases present in the biogas. Apart from that, the pure methane has an upper calorific value of around 39.8 megajoule per meter cube, and it corresponds to around 11.06 kilowatt hour per meter cube of gas. So, this also shows a significant amount of calorific value of the methane if it is a pure methane. It is a colorless and odorless gas with a boiling point of around minus 162 degrees C, and it burns with a blue flame. And the methane is also the main constituents of the natural gas. This is also one of the most important thing. If the gas produced during this anaerobic digestion process is further purified, then it can be also utilized as a bio-natural gas, or you can say bio-CNG. The methane has a density of 0.75 kg per meter cube approximately at a normal temperature and pressure. Similarly, if this particular biogas is mixed with 10 to 20% of air, an explosive air may be generated, which as the name suggests is a explosive. Thus, it is very much essential to utilize this gas in a safe manner for the energy purpose. So, now as I mentioned earlier, does this biogas production happens naturally? Yes, because these particular biogas productions can happen naturally in a natural ecosystem, either in the form of compost heaps, or you can say the swamp, bogs, the rice paddies, and at the bottom of oceans, rivers, or you can say the lakes, where sediments are exposed to the anaerobic conditions. So, when this kind of places are exposed to the anaerobic conditions, so this anaerobic digestion process will start, and as a result the decomposition of the organic matter will take place, and then it will evolve the gas with a slow manner from such kind of places. Methane is also created in the rumen of the ruminant animals, the ruminant animals like cows, sheep, deers, camels and the lambs. It can also be collected from the landfill sites where organic waste has been rotten under the ground. So, this is also one of the source from where you can collect the biogas. Otherwise, as I mentioned earlier also, it can be produced in anaerobic digester from plant and animal waste. So, this is one of the widely utilized source for the anaerobic digestion purpose. These are nothing but the plant, or you can say the waste plant material, and also the animal waste, which are widely being utilized for the anaerobic digestions to produce the biogas in the form of renewable energy. That means the anaerobic digestion is mostly a biochemical conversion process, and that degrades the organic matter in absence of oxygen by the action of wide varieties of the microorganism. So, if you just try to simplify this particular concept, so you can see that this anaerobic digestion process is carried out in 4 different stages. That means, first is the hydrolysis stage, then the acidogenesis, acetogenesis, and then the methanogenesis. So, what happens in the first stage? In this particular stage here, the insoluble organic compounds in the form of, say for example, carbohydrates, proteins and the fats or some other simple carbohydrate molecules, they undergo decompositions by the action of the enzyme or the anaerobic bacteria. So, once this particular microorganisms act upon this particular organic matter, so in that case it produces the simple sugar compound or simple molecule in this particular process, which are soluble compounds. The simple soluble compounds which are produced in this hydrolysis stage are act as a substrate for the bacteria in the next stage. So, in this particular hydrolysis stage, the carbohydrates are mainly decomposed, or you can say broken down into simple sugars. Similarly, if the protein contents are there in the substance, then those proteins are converted into the or broken down into the amino acid, and if some fatty compounds are present in the mixture, then those fats are converted into a fatty acids during this hydrolysis stage. So, once the simple compounds which are produced in the hydrolysis stage, then these particular compounds are transformed by the action of enzymes in the acidogenesis stage, which is called as a acid forming stage. So, in this particular process, these simple compounds are transformed into a volatile acids, propionate and the butyrate molecules. The H plus ions formed in this particular stage may reduce the fermentation process. That is the reason, if the concentration of H plus ion in this particular stage is relatively high, then it reduces the production of the acetate in the subsequent stage. So, that is the reason it is very much essential to maintain the H plus ions concentration in this particular stage as well. The compounds which are formed in this particular stage are act as a substrate for the bacteria in the acetic acid producing stage. So, in this case, the product which are formed in these intermediate stages are nothing but H2 and CO2 along with the acetate. So, in this particular stage, what happen mainly, that the acidogenic bacteria as well as the methanogenic bacteria, they grow together. So, once these particular compounds are formed, which is called as a acidogenesis stage. So, during this stage, the compound which are formed in the form of hydrogen, CO2 and the acetates, these particular compounds are act as a substrate for the bacteria in the last stage of the anaerobic digestion, which is called as a methanogenesis. So, during this stage, the methane gas is produced strictly under the anaerobic condition, and the reaction in this particular stage is nothing but the exothermic reaction. So, this particular methanogenesis stage is subdivided into two stages, that is nothing but the in the first stage what happen is like these particular compounds are reduced to form the methane. Similarly, in this particular stage the hydrogen and CO2 are converted into the methane. So, likewise these two operations occurred simultaneously in this particular stage, which is called as a methanogenesis stage in the anaerobic digester. So, acidotropic bacteria which are present in this particular stage, which is called as a acidotropic methanogens, these are mainly responsible for the reduction of the acetate to the methane in the methanogenesis stage. Similarly, the hydrogenotropic methanogens are responsible for the conversion of H2 and CO2 into the methane in this particular methanogenesis stage. As a result, the entire compound which are present in the form of hydrogen, CO2 and the acetate in the particular methanogenesis stage are converted into a methane and small amount of CO2 as a gas. So, this is how the anaerobic digestion process takes place in the digester in the stage wise manner. And the reactions which are mainly responsible in the methanogenesis stage are shown here. So, if you see in this case, the hydrogen molecule is getting converted into a methane along with the some intermediate product. So, the water which is produced in this particular stage is used to stabilize the slurry as well as to stabilize the pH of the slurry in the digester. Similarly, the second reaction, it shows the intermediates which are produced are getting converted into a methane and also produce some intermediate compound, and this is mostly carried out by the hydrogenotropic methanogens. So, this indicates the organisms which are responsible for this kind of reaction, and the acetic acid which is available in the slurry further undergo decomposition reaction and produces methane as a gas along with this intermediate product. But in this case, methanocercina and the methanothrix are the microorganisms which are responsible for this particular reaction, and at the end some alcohol which is also produced during this decomposition reaction converted into a methane and this kind of intermediate product. So, this particular reaction is mainly carried out in the presence of this microorganism. So, if you see this entire reaction mechanism, it shows how the concentration of H plus ions is getting balanced in this particular reaction, so that we can maintain a stable slurry inside the digester, so that the pH of the particular slurry can also be maintained in the specific range, and it results in the dynamic equilibrium between the acid formers as well as the methanogenic bacteria, which are very much essential for the efficient generation of the biogas. So, if you talk about the biogas which is produced from the digester, and if you just try to see its properties. So, first from the composition point of view, if you just try to see, the composition of biogas is mainly consist of methane, carbon dioxide, hydrogen, nitrogen, hydrogen sulfide and small traces of the oxygen. So, now if you just ask me a question, why there is oxygen in this case? Because as I mentioned earlier, the oxygen which is present in the organic matter itself will be utilized by this particular bacteria. So, obviously there will be some fraction of oxygen will be present in the biogas, but this particular gas is present in the very small, or you can say in the trace amount. So, the oxygen, that is why I mentioned here in the traces, maybe you can say like 0.5 or 0.4% in the total composition of the biogas, but methane is the major gas in the composition of biogas, followed by the carbon dioxide, hydrogen and then the nitrogen. Now, if you just talk about the properties of this particular gas, so the energy density of this gas, if you see, with a 60% methane, its energy density is in the range of like 22.35 to 24.22 megajoule per meter cube. Similarly, if we remove the CO2 from this particular gas, so its energy density value, if you see here, it is relatively high. Similarly, the octane rating with or without CO2 also is a significant value, and the ignition temperature is around 650 degrees C, but air to methane ratio by volume for the complete combustion, it required in the range of like 10:1, and the exclusive limit for this particular gas is 5 to 10% by volume with air. So, this is a very important information which tells about the properties of this kind of gas. So now after learning about this biogas and how the biogas is getting produced, or you can say the number of stages which are involved in the biogas production. So let us discuss about the advantages of this anaerobic digestion process. The most important advantage of this anaerobic digestion process is because it utilizes the discarded material, and this discarded material is getting converted into the energy. Apart from that, in the normal course, if you see, the waste material can best be used either as a fuel or can be composed to produce the fertilizer. But in case if this particular waste is digested using this anaerobic digestion process, so then you can see like both the benefits can be achieved by using this particular process, whereas the material is the same. So it can produce fuel in the form of biogas, as well as it can also produce the fertilizer in the form of digested slurry. So from the same material, two products can be obtained if the material can be digested using the anaerobic digestion process. Similarly, the another advantage of this particular process, in anaerobic digestion, about 70 to 75% of the original biomass weight is conserved, as compared to the aerobic digestion, where around 50% or more of the weight is lost. The nitrogen content in cattle dung, or you can say the cattle manure, is conserved in a biogas unit, whereas substantial amount of this particular nitrogen source is lost in the composting process. So if you just compare these two processes, so the anaerobically digested material also produce a manure which is better in terms of quality and quantity compared to the ordinary manure. So this is one of the significant advantage of this particular process. Similarly, the energy requirement of some of the industries, for example, if some of the industries are producing organic waste, just take an example of the dairy industries. So the waste which is produced from such kind of industries can be digested to produce the energy, so that the energy produced from such kind of waste can be utilized in the same industries itself. The energy requirement of the specific industry can be met from the waste generated by this particular industry itself. For example, is the dairy industry. In a digester, waste is getting converted into a stable slurry, and most of the disease causing bacteria or the organisms are getting killed in this confined digester itself. So this is also one of the advantage of this particular process. And the digesters can be used for stabilizing the sewage of the rural communities by reducing the incidence of disease caused by parasites and the pathogens. And as the system is the enclosed digester, the odors are also contained within it, and the digested slurry which is recovered at the end of the process is also a odorless slurry, and hence it can be also act as a soil enhancer, or you can say the soil product. So now, based on these advantages as well as the importance of this particular process, let us discuss about in details how this particular process carried out, or what type of biogas plants are being used for the digestion purpose. The biogas plants are mainly classified as batch type and the continuous type plant. And the continuous type plants are further subclassified as a fixed dome type plant and the floating drum type plant. So the schematic which is shown on this particular slide, it represents the number of batch type plants which are installed in series, and the outline of this particular plants is connected to a single gas holder. As a result, the gas from this particular holder can be utilized as on the requirement basis. So the purpose of utilizing this particular plant in this particular manner is because one can also operate the digester using a single batch type unit, or also we can have such kind of units in a series, and the outlet of all this particular plant can be connected to a single gas holder unit, where the entire gas can be accumulated and can be released to the users on the requirement basis. So the advantage of this kind of units are, this kind of batch plants can be operated in a synchronized manner, and it can be emptied by one, or also you can say can be fed alternatively, so that it won't affect the gas output. So once we arrange such kind of number of units in series, so it is equivalent to a continuous plant. So let us see some important feature of such kind of unit. So a batch type of plant is charged at 50 to 60 days intervals. So if it is a single unit, it is charged at 50 to 60 days interval, and once it is charged, it starts to produce gas after 8 to 10 days, and it continues to produce gas for 40 to 50 days unless the digestion of the material is completed in the digester. Apart from that, once the digestion process is completed, then this particular plant can be emptied and we can recover the digested slurry from the digester, and then again it can be recharged for the next operation, or you can say the next cycle of the operation. The installation and the operation of this kind of plants are capital and the labor intensive, and are not economical unless operated on a large scale. And that is the reason, if you remember the previous slides, I mentioned that if such kind of plants need to be operated, so then we need to install such kind of plants in a series, so that the operation of the entire plant can be economical, and the plant do not suits the condition in the Indian and the rural areas, except when it is taken as a commercial venture. That is what I mentioned in the previous slide as well. And it needs several digesters in series for continuous gas production, and these are fed alternatively. So once we need to convert this batch operation into a continuous operations, then we need to have several digesters in series, and the outlet of all these digesters can be connected to a single gas holder, and the gas on the requirement gases can be released from that particular gas holder as well. So the batch type of plants are good for the long fibrous materials. One of the important point here, this particular plant, it needs addition of some fermented slurry to start the digestion process. Otherwise what happen in that case is, like, there may be a direct change to the acid phase in absence of the fermented slurry, and then which may affect the formation of methane as well. So this kind of plants are always fed with some amount of fermented slurry at the beginning to start the operation as well. So this is how the batch type of biogas plants are being operated. So now if you talk about the continuous type of biogas plant, so in case of continuous type of biogas plant, the plant is fed daily with small or certain amount of biomass on daily basis, and this is how is the difference between the continuous and the batch type of biogas plant, because in the batch type of plant, as I mentioned, the amount of biomass is fed at the interval. So first batch, if it is fed today, so once the digestion of this particular batch is over, we cannot feed another batch in between. So once this particular digestion process is completed, then the batch type of plant is emptied to recover the digested slurry, and then the next batch of operation can be started. Whereas in case of continuous plant, the small amount of biomass need to be fed on the daily basis, and the gas produced is either stored in the plant, as shown here the gas holder, or can be stored in the separate gas holder. So either way we can store the gas in the continuous plant. The biomass is completely digested in a digester, and the digested slurry is rejected through an outlet, you can see here. So as I mentioned, this kind of plants are fed on daily basis, so it also reject a digested slurry on interval basis, and it can be rejected through this particular outlet. This is what is the advantage of this particular continuous type plant as well. And the period during which this particular biomass remains in the digester, it is called as a retention period. And the retention period of this particular digested slurry, it mainly depends on the type of biomass and the operating temperature of the digester. The scum which is formed at this particular top layer of the digester, it prevents the escape of the gas from the particular slurry. So, this thin layer of scum which is formed at the top layer of the slurry can be broken by agitating this particular slurry. This particular agitation operation also helps to maintain the slurry as well as the concentration of slurry inside the reactor. Such plants are convenient for the individual users, as I mentioned here. The pattern which matches with the daily waste generation is best suited for this kind of plant, and these type of plants are very popular in the country like China and India. So, this is about the classification of the biogas plant. So, today we will stop here. So, in the next lecture we will discuss about the classification of the biogas plant as well as the some properties of the biogas plant. So, if you have any doubt regarding this particular lecture, you just feel free to contact me at vivgoud@iitg.ac.in. Thank you.